Onda Magazine presenta.
¿Qué onda, Houston? We are joined by Harris County Precinct for Commissioner Lesley Briones, who is one of the 5 Harris County leaders, and she's here to talk to us about a big task ahead on September 8th, which you're all getting ready to adopt the Harris County budget. And thank you, Commissioner, for being here and breaking it down for us. How are you doing today?
Of course, I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for everything Que Onda does to educate and empower our community. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Briones. And let's get right to it. I know you're very busy with budget and everything. So I wanted to ask you, I know residents have expressed some frustration about conflicting numbers on the budget, but there's a lot of emphasis on smart spending for the fiscal year 2026. And what does this mean in this context for you? And how are you tackling these strategies?
Absolutely. So we will pass a balanced budget. We were facing approximately $275 million deficit. And we've been hard at work for months finding these strategic smart savings, which I will give you some examples of how we've been able to close the budget deficit. And I want to preface by saying until the vote, nothing is final, right? Everything is in a very iterative process. But to me, this is so important because I grew up check to check. And I take my role as a public servant and as a steward of taxpayer resources so seriously. And I voted against going to the voters to ask to raise taxes, because to me, that should be a last resort. I want to make sure we have done everything possible to find smart savings, efficiencies, because I know how hard folks work and I know how difficult things are. One of the top issues we hear all the time is about affordability for rent, for groceries, for life, right? And so again, we want to make sure we've done the hard work and have found ways we can save and do more with less. So let me give you a few examples of some of the ways we've been able to clear and reduce the deficit to zero. And I can't wait to pass this budget because it really has been a joy to work with all the 70 plus departments and our teams to find these savings. So one of them, for instance, is switching what revenue source we're using for expenses. This helped close about $50 million. So for example, Harris County, we are charged with inspecting restaurants in unincorporated for food permits. Mm-hmm. Any and all expenses incurred for food permitting process should be paid out of that fund, right? The fees people pay should pay for the people going to do the inspections. Mm-hmm. So by better connecting the expenses with the revenue source, and we did it for, it's the food permit fees, court fees, fire code fees, that was approximately a $50 million closing of the deficit. Another is vacancy control. So we have at any given time approximately 20,000 Harris County employees. Mm-hmm. We identified, well, frankly, over 1,000 vacancies that have been open and just not filled. And I wanted to zero down on which ones have been open the longest, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, sometimes even longer. The work has continued. There has been no urgency to fill this position. Mm-hmm. So we don't need that position if it's been vacant for so long, right? The work has continued. So between vacancy control and a very targeted, thoughtful hiring freeze, and many of the key mission critical positions and departments will be exempted. Happy to go into more detail. But the bottom line is through a temporary, targeted, thoughtful hiring freeze and this vacancy control, that's approximately another $35 million that we were able to close. Another example, and I get all excited about this, I used to be a chief operations officer, so these things may not be super sexy to some, but they're important. We have over 70 departments. Many of them were buying their own computer equipment on their own, mm-hmm. getting licenses to software on their own per department. Well, it's a volume discount, right? When we can combine the purchases as well as the software, we save money. And so, for example, it was approximately for renegotiating technology contracts, that's another $5 million. Centralizing technology purchases, that's another approximate $6 million. And then fleet, cars, trucks, all the vehicles we have in the county. I have a 2015 vehicle at home, right? It would be nice to get a new car, but my car works, it's reliable, it's safe. I have a 10-year-old car, and that's okay. So I was like, well, what can we do to find savings with regard to fleet and adjust our policies? So if they're safe and reliable, we can hit pause temporarily on the purchase of new fleet. And that was approximately another $5 million. So I can go through all the different ways, but these are ways we have found savings that will not impact the services delivered to the people. This is just finding the smart strategic savings. I'll give one last example and then I'll stop so you can ask me the next question. Some departments year over year have had surpluses, some of them very large surpluses. So another way we found savings is right-sizing budgets, right? Looking at historical trends, looking at current activities, and that has been really, really helpful. And again, I want to thank the departments because they presented options. None of them were automatic. None of them were an absolute, but ideas. How can we find these smart strategic savings? And then the people of Harris County, we had many budget town halls. Happy to go into that, but this is all based on making sure we're prioritizing what the people of Harris County are prioritizing.
Yeah, talking about priorities, I know you guys have been hard at work across all departments, but a priority in the county is public safety. And I know a major feature of the budget is funding public safety initiatives, especially the pay parity with higher people in the departments. But some other people have raised concerns about they have priorities like health, housing. So how do you protect both interests, right? Like this emphasis, this priority of people across the county that we should invest in public safety, and of course pay parity going around the city, they increase salaries. So but also, how do you protect all their social services?
Perfect. I see it as a both and. We will do both. It's not an either or. And I also take the voices of my constituents incredibly seriously. We had multiple budget town halls across the county, including a couple in Precinct 4. We also had hundreds of people fill out a survey. And I've had over 20 town halls generally, and dozens and dozens and dozens of community meetings. So we've literally met with thousands of folks, and public safety is the top priority that people want. Public safety, infrastructure and disaster response and recovery, as well as public health. And so this budget will protect and preserve, I call them the non-negotiables. And others may call them the statutory responsibilities, which is basically a fancy word for saying under the law, the county is required to do these things, which public safety is a statutory responsibility and a non-negotiable. To go specifically to the pay parity, the reason this was so important to me, well, first of all, I've been the victim of crime several times. So public safety is my top priority, always has been, always will be. And I'm the mom of 3 little girls, and I don't feel comfortable letting them walk to the park by themselves, right? So we need to continue improving safety for all people in Harris County. But the pay parity was an incredibly important decision that we had to act decisively because HPD has given a raise over 5 years, approximately 36.5% to the Houston Police Department officers. In the spring, HPD had over 1,000 vacancies. So you can imagine the hemorrhaging or mass exodus, whatever word you want to use, of our officers at the sheriff's office, at our 8 constables' offices. I don't blame it. If you can earn more money, basically 40% more money to help your family, of course you're going to go to a higher paying job, right? So we had to act quickly because there's more people in the unincorporated area, which Harris County is on first for, than in the city of Houston. So when you call 911, you want law enforcement to show up. And I didn't want the response times to go up because we had fewer officers. The truth is we were already having a hard time recruiting and retaining folks even before the pay increase. So I'm like, no, we need to compete. We need to keep the experience, the training that we've invested in these officers in Harris County. So that's why I felt so passionately about it. And I feel passionately about pay equity and parity for all people. So we're doing a countywide pay equity study for all of our employees, and I'm looking forward to it. We should have the results in October of this year. And part of this budget, which I'm so proud of, sets aside $50 million so that we can make adjustments for pay equity for all of our Harris County employees. I'm happy to go into more detail about how we're protecting public health and all of the other core services, but I'll stop here in case you want to ask any follow-up questions.
Yes, that was my next question. For those people who are still feeling a little bit like maybe concerned or are my social services going to go away, what would you say to those people?
The short answer is they're not, period. They're not. So for example, public health, something that's so important to me. I used to be a teacher, right? And we know that if you have to be healthy, right? You have to have a good education, all these things that I believe as government need to partner with school districts, with places of worship, with the community, right? We want a thriving society, and health is a key factor. So Harris County Public Health, we're on first for a variety of things. One, for example, vaccines. We do a lot of immunization clinics. Two, we have mobile health clinics that go around the county. And I invite y'all, if you want to come, Bayland is our health hub, and Precinct 4, everyone's invited. So whether it's dental services, in diabetes prevention, all sorts of services that are so important, they will continue. And we will still have our animal shelter and animal welfare work. We will still be able to do testing of the water. We will still have mosquito. So again, it's finding these efficiencies, ways to do the same, if not more, with less. And I'll give a perfect example. So HART, the Holistic Assistance Response Team, is something I care passionately about, making sure we're addressing mental health as mental health and connection to services, not putting people who do not belong in jail. Like, we need to stop that, right? And so HART is a program that we essentially, when someone calls 911 in crisis, whether it's addiction, homelessness, they're connected to services. They're not sent to our Harris County Jail, which is just a couple blocks over there. I love HART. But for example, we're able to do more with less. For the same amount of money, we're no longer using a third-party consultant. We brought HART in-house to Harris County Public Health. It used to just be in 2 districts, essentially covering mine and Commissioner Ellis's. Now it's going to be countywide in a budget-neutral way. So I am persistent, I'm creative, I'm innovative. There's ways we can do more with less in a way that we're being the best stewards we can. So in sum, you will have your services.
Thank you for providing that reassurance.
Of course.
Another big investment is the District Attorney's Office. There's a lot of proposed growth, and this is while the county is facing rising jail costs and court backlog costs. Why are these investments critical?
They're so critical. So I used to be a judge, a civil court judge. I had it easy. The criminal court judges have it way harder. But I think of the criminal justice system as a system, right? There's all these different players, partners, right, at different parts of the system. And you're right. We have deep challenges with our jail. And because of these challenges, we're having to outsource people to 3 different private prisons. And by the way, one of the savings is we will be ending one of those contracts because of smart investments, which leads me back to your question, the district attorney. We have a fabulous district attorney, DA Sean Teare. He is relentless, creative, and cares deeply about justice. So we have invested in his office to improve intake so that they're taking the right cases, not just any case that comes in. We have also invested in a mental health diversion in partnership with DA Teare, as well as a domestic violence bureau. So he's doing, and because he's been able to really help improve morale and hiring in that office, and this makes me so happy because I'm a lawyer and I used to be a judge. Trials, we need to give people their day in court. We need to give victims their day in court. We need to give defendants their day in court. And under DA Teare, trials are up over 30%, which means we're administering justice, we're moving cases, and that is helping to help create that movement. So in sum, we're making progress. We have many challenges ahead. The road will be long, but we're making progress in terms of improving our cases, improving the jail, and I cannot wait for the day that we can cancel all of those contracts. But we're on track by Thanksgiving to end one of the contracts, which will again create savings for Harris County. And so again, when we invest strategically, the tax assessor collector is another way. We're investing strategically in a way that helps Harris County residents and that helps us be even better stewards.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And another way that you mentioned saving money is the hiring freeze. And I want to see if you want to elaborate a little bit about under what conditions specifically are you supporting this measure while ensuring that, critical departments are not going to be.
Sure. And again, nothing will be final till we vote on it. But my philosophy and the way I want it to go down is that it's very targeted and thoughtful. So for instance, the District Attorney's Office, as far as I'm concerned, that will be exempted. Our Public Defender's Office, which we've also invested in because we want to get to up to 50%, that our public defender can handle up to 50% of cases, so the public defender would be exempted. Law enforcement agencies would be exempted. Our tax assessor collector, right now, they need to hire, and with our new tax assessor collector, Annette Ramirez, who's also fabulous, we need to make sure that. So there's a few other key departments that will be exempted as far as I'm concerned. Again, it has to be a majority vote. But there's others that, again, have had many vacancies year after year. So I'll give you an example. Our IT department. That's one that I would vote for a temporary hiring freeze. So again, it's about being thoughtful, about being targeted, and we will be able to effectuate these savings.
Yes, and another thing is taxpayers. And I know Harris County is committed to maintaining the credit rating as high as possible. Why is this important for taxpayers? And how does this influence your decisions in spending and saving?
Yes. Again, as somebody who grew up check to check, and I'm still paying my student loans for law school, and my husband is too, and raising 3 little kids, trying to save for their college while we're still paying student loans. It's so important to me that we're good stewards. This responsibility, this transparency, and the accountability. So keeping our bond rating up ultimately helps taxpayers, right? In terms of the rates we're able to get on bonds, on debt, basically. And so it's a win-win, I think, from a good government perspective, in terms of rates, in terms of savings, in terms of transparency, but also it's the way I'm wired and the way I'm raised, right? And again, it all goes back to, I know how hard men and women across Harris County are working. And we need to be as strong of a partner as we can.
Thank you, Commissioner. And to close out, looking ahead to that September 18th budget adoption, what would you like residents to see the most as a reflection of your leadership in Commissioner's Court?
First of all, I hope they see that we have fought to retain and protect and improve those core services, whether that is public health, all the examples I just gave, whether it's infrastructure, the sidewalks, the road safety improvements, parks, trails, all the things, the community centers, that we have fought and protected the funds needed to respond to the next disaster and to recover and make us more resilient, that we have fought to enhance public safety, not only with the law enforcement pay parity, but through these strategic investments with partners in terms of mental health investments, DA, public defender, et cetera, that we are thinking strategically about how we are investing and spending. So I hope they will see this budget as, okay, you have fought for all the key priorities that you heard, because these are not just my priorities. These, more importantly, are the priorities we have heard from my constituents, and that we have done it in a way where we did the hard work, right? To find these smart strategic savings and to find ways we can do more with less, and to make sure that we're doing everything possible to honor the hard work of the men and women and taxpayers of Harris County. So we will, I cannot wait to pass this balanced budget in a way that is this both and. We were able to invest, we were able to close the deficit and protect and preserve those key services. So, and again, it's testament to the hard work of hundreds of Harris County employees who made this happen.
Thank you. It's a very complex topic, but Commissioner Briones, we really appreciate the time you took to break it down for us.
Thank
you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. This has been an exclusive interview with Harris County Precinct 4, Commissioner Lesley Briones.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Sí, hasta luego.
¿Qué Onda Magazine presentó?